Good Monday afternoon, guys. It's Jerry Miller. Welcome to the I Love CVille Show. Thank you for joining us on a glorious day to be alive. It's Monday, April 19th, here on the I Love CVille Network. We're live in Charlottesville and, of course, across Albemarle County, Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. It's good to be with you on a Monday. I want to talk about Biscuit Run Park and what we should do with this massive piece of property that is right outside Charlottesville city limits, and in that, that urban ring we call that area right outside city limits and right into Albemarle County. Biscuit Run Park is a 1,200-acre park in Albemarle that is centrally located to so much in Central Virginia, and right now these 1,200 acres are underperforming and they are underachieving. Talked with Elizabeth Boden. I had a friendly conversation with her on the downtown mall this past week. Of course, Elizabeth and her late husband wants to own Biscuit Run Park, and they sold Biscuit Run Park to the development group once led by Hunter Craig, Forest Ridge LLC. The Commonwealth purchased Biscuit Run Park from Hunter Craig's development group once the housing market really hit the pooper in 2008, 2009, 2010. So the Commonwealth jumped in, and for just under $22 million in cash and tax credits, took the park off Hunter Craig's ownership group's hands. And now it's in this purgatory, this limbo period, with Albemarle County being entrusted by the Commonwealth to create a programming plan for these 1,200 acres. I'm going to brainstorm some ideas for Biscuit Run Park, give you a little history of Biscuit Run Park and these 1,200 acres on the show as I learn more about Biscuit Run Park from stakeholders, from agents of positive change, from people who previously owned the property, from people that are serving as lobbyists to try to push the park forward in one direction or the other. As I learn about these 1,200 acres and have conversations with stakeholders and decision makers and money people and lobbyists, in my quest to be a supervisor in Albemarle County, a board of supervisors in Albemarle County, I realized that these 1,200 acres are not only incredibly important, but should be woven into my campaign in some capacity. So as I learn more about this plot of land, I'm going to pass that knowledge on to you, so we all can become more informed as constituents, as voters, and as residents, not only of Albemarle County, but of Central Virginia in totality. This is within driving distance. I mean, I'm talking like a 10-minute drive for most residents in the city of Charlottesville. I mean, this is like a hop, skip, and a jump for residents in Fluvanna, a hop, skip, and a jump for residents in Nelson County. I mean, it's just past the southern part of the city of Charlottesville. It's in the urban ring, and it's adjacent to so much of Central Virginia. And because of its proximity to Intrastate 64, much of Central Virginia can hop in a vehicle and get on I-64 and head to Biscuit Run Park for some enjoyment. So we're going to talk history. We're going to brainstorm ideas. I'm going to relay a conversation I had with Elliot Harding, about a week ago or so, I would think, Elliot, about some of his ideas for the park. And then I want to hear your thoughts of what we should do with one of the most important undevelopable tracts of land in the designated growth area, in the urban ring, centrally located to all in Central Virginia, and a short interstate ride for many of the 300,000 people that call Central Virginia home. On top of Biscuit Run Park, I want to talk Dr. Scott Gottlieb today on the show. He has two predictions, one of them being that COVID cases are going to fall dramatically as the vaccine becomes more ubiquitous, available, approachable, and as the warmer months become more of a reality. The CDC said that 6,000 people, only 6,000 people who have been fully vaccinated have gotten COVID. So if you get fully vaccinated, your odds of getting COVID are slim to none. The CDC is saying that today. I want to talk fundraising totals for the candidates in the Charlottesville City Council race. Juan Diego Wade has a sizable lead over number 2, Brian Pinkston. Carl Brown, a good friend of the show, has not raised much money for the City Council race, so we'll talk about that on today's program. We have a hard kombucha bar in the 757. So there's a storefront in Williamsburg. You can pull the door, you can walk into, you can sit at a bar and drink spiked kombucha, a liquorized version of kombucha. Only a matter of time till we see spiked or hard kombucha to pop up here in Charlottesville or in Central Virginia. Charlottesville and Central Virginia are epicenters for kombucha, so we'll let you know about a trend that we see happening in the 757 and whether or not that trend will manifest or materialize here in the city, Albemarle County, or in Central Virginia. Alex Smith is retiring. This is the comeback player of the year, quarterback of the Washington football team, who very much helped Ron Rivera's club to the postseason this past year. Alex Smith is now officially announcing his retirement, and we'll give you some updates for my campaign for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors today on the show. First, the macro headline has got to be Scott Gottlieb. Dr. Scott Gottlieb has said he expects COVID cases in the United States to fall quite dramatically. Gottlieb was the former FDA chief, and he cited warmer weather in the country and a progress of COVID vaccinations for his reasons for this dramatic fall in COVID cases over the next month or two. He said we'll still have some hot spots across the country. We can expect COVID hotspots or outbreak areas, but for the most part, the former FDA chief, a man who I follow closer than even Anthony Fauci, okay, Gottlieb is featured every single day on CNBC. Pretty much the only kind of content I'm absorbing these days outside of local content is the content that's aired on CNBC from a financial news standpoint, and Gottlieb is on there every single day. This morning he predicted a massive drop, a dramatic drop in cases. Moments later, the CDC releases news, and the CDC guys release this tidbit of news that I thought was very positive. CDC has confirmed that fewer than 6,000 cases of COVID-19 in fully vaccinated Americans. That's from CDC Director Rochelle Walensky. That represents just 0.007% of the 84 million Americans with full protection. Again, I'll give you that stat. 84 million Americans have been fully protected with a full COVID vaccination. Of those 84 million Americans, only 6,000 people of 84 million have gotten COVID-19. Folks, if that is not a reason for all of us to get this needle in our arm and get this vaccine, I don't know what is. You cannot argue with metrics and stats and math and science. 84 Americans, 84 million, have been fully vaccinated. Of those 84 million who've become fully vaccinated, less than 6,000 of those 84 million have gotten COVID-19. So those are two very positive metrics. First, from Scott Gottlieb, who says he expects cases and hospitalizations to drop dramatically, and then less than an hour later, the CDC releases that less than 6,000 Americans who've been fully vaccinated, of the 84 million in totality, less than 6K have gotten COVID. Two positive macro metrics for us to consider. I relay the macro metrics because it's trends we got to follow. Another trend we got to follow is this hard kombucha bar in the 757. We'll talk fundraising trends as well. on the I Love CVille show. Two positive stats that I think that we need to consider. Remember, JP Dimon said 2 weeks ago, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, he said he expects it to be a boom into 2023. Here's one of the most influential and powerful CEOs of the world, certainly one of the best, one of the most well-known, and he says this recovery boom will go into 2023. Dr. Gottlieb says cases will drop dramatically in the next month or two, and the CDC is basically saying if you're fully vaccinated, you got serious protection against getting COVID-19, boys and girls. The recovery period has not only begun, but it's starting to get into full throttle in Charlottesville, in Albemarle, in Central Virginia, and across the country. Now, I want to talk stats again from a number standpoint with fundraising totals. I want to talk the history of Biscuit Run Park as well. Why don't we start with Biscuit Run Park's history? This park is in the urban ring in a designated growth area, barely over the city of Charlottesville line, okay? Just past Wegmans. Just past Wegmans. 1,200 acres. The Commonwealth of Virginia purchased the park in 2009 from a development group led by Hunter Craig, a development group that had money from a number of influencers, including members of the Dave Matthews Band. The land was bought for $21.48 million in cash and tax credits in January 2010. Because of a lack of state funding, the park has not been able to open. And right now, Albemarle County, the municipality itself, has been entrusted by the Commonwealth to program the park. We are now months, if not a short year away, from seeing action at these 1,200 acres that are in the urban ring. So the conversation from a leadership standpoint and from a stakeholder standpoint is now, what should we do with this park? Some folks, like friend of the program, Elliot Harding, see it as a tremendous opportunity to build a music venue, kind of an amphitheater of some sorts, a way to get people outside in a COVID environment, enjoying music on lawn chairs, their own foldable chairs, safely and social distanced. We had Peter Krebs of the Piedmont Environmental Council on Friday's show, and his inclination is to open the park immediately. He would like to see a gravel parking lot, gravel driveway, and the park opened ASAP for all in Central Virginia to utilize. The primary vehicle access will be from Route 20. Habitat for Humanity wants to create an extensive network of bike and pedestrian trails into the park from access points in a redeveloped Southwood Mobile Home Park. In March 2017, Habitat for Humanity and the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation agreed to a land swap where Habitat got land for athletic fields close to Southwood, where the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation got land more suitable for a state park. So there's a number of people, a number of entities, nonprofit and for-profit, a number of stakeholders, and a number of government officials who are kind of cornering or claiming, trying to set up the proverbial shop utilize their influence, their lobbying ability to figure out a future for 1,200 acres right next to the city of Charlottesville. I'm going to start rolling up my sleeves, as you see on screen, and start figuring out what the nitty-gritty is for what is arguably the most valuable land in the county of Albemarle that is underperforming this side of Fashion Square Mall. Right? I mean, a park that is not being utilized as a park that is being kept behind a gate and not open to residents, a park that is so underperforming right now that private citizens, nonprofits, for-profits, elected officials, lobbyists at the local and state level are chomping at the bit to figure out what to do with this plot of land. I mean, this is as underperforming a plot of land in Albemarle County next to maybe Fashion Square Mall, right? Maybe you throw in Seminole Square Shopping Center and Albemarle Square Shopping Center are also extremely underperforming as well. So we'll figure out what to do with this, guys, and I'm going to weave this into my campaign for Board of Supervisors as well, because the more due diligence I put into this topic, the more I realize that there's a hell of a lot of layers to the onion. And a Wednesday night or weekend music series or venue with an amphitheater has potential. Getting the park open for hiking and bicycle riding and canoeing and walking certainly has potential, especially with the unfortunate passing of a city resident on Ivy Road while riding their bike. I mean, why not we figure out a way to open up 1,200 acres where people can safely ride their bike or walk or hike or run, and get said cyclists and runners and hikers and walkers off dangerous roads that are unmarked. This is another stopgap situation that can offer a potential for folks in Central Virginia. So I'll dig deeper into this park on the network and what to do about it, and invite the people that know more about it than me onto the show so you can learn from them. People like Peter Krebs. I want to talk fundraising totals for the city council race. Sean Tubbs, who was on Friday's Real Talk with Keith Smith, presented by the Yes Team Realtors and Yes Realty Partners, on his website, the Charlottesville Community Engagement website, released some numbers. And folks, Juan Diego Wade, a 4-term Charlottesville School Board member, has raised $55,544 in the first quarter of the year. 77 contributions over $50, one contribution from Sonia Smith for $5,000, and another one for $5,000 from Seminole Trail Management LLC. Seminole Trail Management LLC, interestingly, is a company controlled and run by Richard M. Hewitt. Richard M. Hewitt and his company, Seminole Trail Management LLC, according to vpap.org, a website that tracks fundraising, Richard Hewitt has totaled campaign contributions of over $210,000. This gentleman, through his company, Seminole Trail Management LLC, gave $5,000 to Juan Diego Wade and $5,000 to Brian Pinkston. So Seminole Trail Management LLC and Richard Hewitt, he's hedging and he's betting that Pinkston and Wade are going to be the two candidates that come out of the Democratic primary. Wade, in the first quarter of the year, has raised over $55,000. Brian Pinkston, in the first quarter of the year, has raised over $40,000. So Wade has roughly a $15,000 lead in fundraising in the first quarter of this year. Carl Brown, businessman, has raised no money according to fundraising documents. He's spent no money and he has a campaign balance of $25. Juan Diego Wade in Q1 2021 has raised $55,544. Brian Pinkston in the same quarter has raised $40,578. Carl Brown has not raised any money. He spent no money and has a campaign balance of $25. There's no information yet on Yaz Washington, and we've heard very little from Nikia Walker's campaign outside of what she said to me in a Facebook brouhaha about her running for city council this fall as an independent. That's the extent of what we know from Nikia Walker. Here's the question I want to ask you. Are fundraising dollars and fundraising totals a fair barometer of the success of a campaign? Basically, if a candidate raises the most money over a set period of time, is that an indication in your book that this candidate is having success with his or her campaign? Is it a fair barometer? Is it a barometer we should use to justify candidacy success, or a barometer that we should utilize to determine a candidate's hard work, sweat equity, or the shoe leather he or she is burning on the street, knocking on doors? Because $55K for Juan Diego Wade and $40K for Brian Pinkston and $0 for Carl Brown, those are three very different campaign totals. And let's put it into perspective. Think about how much fundraising you need to win a race or to run a race, or from a perception as reality standpoint. Juan Diego Wade raised $55,544 in 90 days. The first quarter of 2021. That's a boatload of money for a city council race. Heck, even Pinkston's $40,578 in the first 90 days of 2021 is a boatload of money. Wade has only spent $13,893 of that $55,000. That means he has a balance of roughly $41K, guys. This gentleman, if he thinks he's a clear-cut Democratic primary winner, and I think Juan Diego Wade is a clear-cut Democratic primary winner, he's going to have a hell of a lot of money left in his campaign committee account. And as I'm learning about stuff that I can do for my campaign for Board of Supervisors, from a fundraising standpoint, I know that Juan Diego Wade can take that balance of money. He could squirrel it away for future campaigns he plans to run. He can allocate those dollars to other candidates and their campaigns, strengthening alliances or allegiances with other candidates that he thinks may or may not win, almost creating like a PAC-like environment where he's funding other candidates and their efforts. Or he can sit on the money if he chooses to climb the political vertical ladder. It's got a lot of potential. Whether we like it or not, I would say a candidate and the amount of money that they raise is without question a barometer of the success of that campaign. It's in a lot of ways the SOL for students in public schools, the the SAT or the ACT for a junior or senior in high school looking to go to college, or the LSAT or the MCATs for a college student looking to get into medical school or to law school. It's an independent barometer that helps determine the success, the effort, the sweat equity, the shoe leather of what a candidate has done in a set 90-day window during an election year. It may not be fair, but life isn't fair. I'll follow that closely on the I Love CVille show. Three other items I want to get out of the notebook before I get to Keith Smith of Real Talk and of the Yes Team Realtors and of Yes Realty Partners. The Ix Art Park is hosting summer camps. I mean, you talk about some of the most valuable property in the city of Charlottesville. Ix Art Park is one of them. Ix Art Park says registration is open for its summer camps. The Creative Builder Collective is for kids between the ages of 6 and 12, and the Art Nature Camp is for kids 3 to 5. The Creative Builder Collective is a series of one-week daytime art camps with workshops with art-making opportunities, tutorials, and a chance to work with professional materials and tools. Each participant will get personal and separate supplies, materials, and workspace. Tuition is $400 per week. Classes will take place Monday through Friday from 8:45 a.m. to 5:15 p.m. This is not a cheap summer camp. It's going to be a dynamic summer camp. It's going to be a creative summer camp. It's going to be a summer camp your kids are going to get a lot from, but it ain't going to be cheap. I respect the innovative mindset behind Susan Krischel, Ludwig Kutner, and the team behind Ix Art Park. Every single week, it seems like, whether it's this sensory experience, whether it's this looking glass experience, whether it's summer camp for kids starting at age of 3, whether it's a music festival series, whether it's this Saturday farmers market, these people are innovating left and right with this Ix property. Left and right. But I can assure you that's not the best use of that piece of property. The best use from a developer or landlord is apartments and condos on that bad boy. And there'd be a waiting list from here till next to Q1 2022 for those apartments and condos because they're walkable and close to everything. 2 other items out of the notebook. There's a hard kombucha bar in the 757. It's called Joker Brewing. And Joker Brewing has a rainbow list of hard kombucha options in a Williamsburg storefront. You can get different flavored kombucha spiked, and you can drink them while sitting at a bar. Spiked or hard kombucha, mark it down, will be all the rage in Central Virginia. You mark that down. Kombucha is already super popular in Central Virginia. What you don't see is spiked or hard kombucha. Williamsburg and an innovator and an entrepreneur in Williamsburg has figured out how to do that. That'll come to Charlottesville. And the last item out of the notebook, Alex Smith has announced his retirement. This guy, 36 years old, the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. He helped the Washington football team to the NFC East title in a spot in the postseason. He underwent 17 surgeries to fight it in an infection in his leg. He almost had his leg amputated, but he still figured out a way to come back and play football for Ron Rivera. He unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, has decided to hang the helmet and has announced his retirement from football. I salute you, Alex Smith, an absolute warrior and comeback player of the year. Reaching out to Keith Smith, Judah Wickower, our director. Skyping him now. Dude, Biscuit Run Park and 1,200 acres. I mean, come on. That is primo. All right, we got Keith Smith on the line. Keith, how are you?
To give you a bit of shout out, as you know, I've been involved at the Biscuit Run as part of the Planning District Commission, and I have to give you this. The last 10-minute conversation you did, you've got more information out to the public about what's happening there than I've been involved with for a couple of years. So I just wanted to give you a kudos and say thank you for doing that and getting that information out there.
Thank you for saying that. The former owner of the park, Elizabeth Breeden, I've invited her to the show. We've got a meeting as well scheduled with Mrs. Breeden for later in the month to get her ideas for Biscuit Run Park. I was conversating with the Esquire Elliot Harding, who's actively involved in regional politics and local politics, and he suggested a music venue, among other things, for Biscuit Run Park. What do you think, Keith Smith, should be done with Biscuit Run?
Well, I think that there is a plan set out for that, and what it should be done and what it shouldn't be done I think is already in the works. As you know, in the capital improvement plan, they have set up for this year to just do a plan on the parking. So, look, I don't think you're going to see a lot happen over there until 2022, maybe even later than that into the 2023 portion of it. But and you know this, as you dig into it, you'll see there's been a kind of a convoluted history in this, as you very clearly outlined in it. But, 100%, this is a great asset. I go back to the project or the park in Fluvanna County, my home county, called Pleasant Grove. They've done such a great job in that, and I actually was there on Sunday afternoon. And I see more people from outside the area using the trails and the parks and stuff like that. So this is going to be a long-term great asset for the county and the region. It's just going to take a while to get there, I think.
Guys, we have 1,200 acres sitting on ice right now.
Yeah.
And we have 1,200 acres that literally is doing nothing from a tax revenue standpoint. It's doing nothing from a quality of life standpoint. It's doing nothing from an exercise standpoint or for allowing folks to utilize standpoint. And it's been doing nothing for 12 years.
Yeah. And
it's in the urban ring, in the designated growth area, and right off of Intrastate 64.
It's from a perspective of win-win-win-win. You can't, as a recovering developer, I mean, my God, it's got everything that you possibly want on it. The bottom line is it comes down to money, right? And the budget that the state is giving the county to go ahead and work it, plus the county dollars. That's kind of what happened. Once it kind of got out of the state park realm into the county park realm, it really put the costs on the back of Albemarle County. And it's not, I mean, just the study to go ahead and do the parking is almost $500,000. That's just the study to go ahead and do it. That's just the design. I'm looking at it right now. You can pull it off of the county's website. So it's going to be a monetary thing, and getting everybody together, trying to figure out how much money you could do it. And of course, this little thing called COVID kind of screwed up everybody's budgets, but I feel confident that it'll get there. But you're 100% right. We should be using, particularly now, COVID. Everybody's looking for a place to go out. I'm a biker. I'd love to get on the trails and bike, but they're not there.
This is an incredible opportunity for Albemarle County to figure out a way to monetize some of the most important land in the entire county. I mean, we could create a membership or an access point to the park. The music festival idea is a brilliant idea. Yeah. Regional mountain biking race,
sure,
where people pay to enter the race. A regional running race, 10K, 5K, marathon in the park,
yep,
where people are paying to get involved in. Maybe cutting down some of the trees and building soccer fields for a regional soccer tournament.
You're spot on. You've kind of gone through the whole thing, and I'm so glad to hear that you've made this part of your campaign to get into it and learn it. And I'm just super excited to hear that you're doing that. It's going to be a great asset. But this whole fee thing is a great idea because in other states and other jurisdictions they do that. If you want to use if I'm coming from Havana County and I want to use that park, there's a fee to use that park. I don't know how often it's done in the state of Virginia, but other jurisdictions or other states do that. If you want to go to a certain park, you've got to pay to go use a county park or a city park or something like that. But you're 100%
It's done
right.
now. It's done. It's done now. So I live in Albemarle County. I pay to use Walnut Creek Park.
There you go.
They have somebody at the entrance point of Walnut Creek Park making X amount of dollars per hour, and even Albemarle County residents are charged for access. It's a higher charge if you live outside Albemarle if you want to access. So someone in the city or Fluvanna that wanted to come, it's even more. But I guess right now, it's making zero money. We still got you there, Keith? Looks like he's frozen. You see him frozen? Keith, you got you?
I'm good. I apologize. I'm on tape. Not sure what's happening here. Can you catch me now?
I got you now. I got you. You're live now, my friend. What do you make? Is it making $0? He's frozen. We'll try to call him back here. I'll try to Skype him back on the mix here. He's over at Ix Park right now. Speaking of Ix, we're reaching him back. 1,200 acres that are doing absolutely nothing. Do we think about that? I don't know, J-Dubs. I don't know what you would do. I know you would put it to work somehow, wouldn't you? The music venue concept would be, you could do a joint venture with, say, Red Light, and have Red Light book the guests. There we go. We got him back on. Keith, we got you back.
I apologize, everybody.
No problem. All right, more to cover with you. We covered the park. I'm going to see if we can get Miss Breeded on the show to see what her vision is, what her husband or late husband's vision for the park was. Keith Smith, how about some stats and some numbers?
Interesting. I just ran some quick numbers this morning. I think it's a positive trend. I'm just looking from what went on the market from Friday to today. So we went 50, and this is in that footprint that we talk about all the time around Charlottesville, to include Augusta and Waynesboro, because we have to include them. 54 homes or attached products went on the market. 60 went pending, and that's a unique number. That hasn't happened in quite some time, where we're almost on par with the number of units, or number of homes, or number of living quarters that went active versus pending. Look, it's just a snapshot. We don't know if it's a trend. I can tell you, as you know, my wife and I put on a home just on the outer ring or in the growth area on Friday, and you guys helped us with it, which was so awesome. It's already went into pending. We had 40 people seeing it within 3 days, multiple offers, cash offers. It was just a ton of activity. But to see active and pending kind of getting closer, at least in that snapshot, is encouraging to me. It means that we could do that, but the inventory is just anemic, is the only word I can think of.
This is an interesting comment that's just come in. This is about the park conversation we just had. This is from David Shutt. He said, Jerry, I've listened to the entire show when it's come to Biscuit Run Park. He says, can you think of other parks that have been monetized well? Ask your guest this as well. And maybe this is not something that's done just with Albemarle County. Maybe Albemarle County can form a partnership with somebody else that can monetize it better than they can. I'm curious of your thoughts. That's a good comment and a good question.
It's a great comment, great question. I don't have the answer to the monetizing of it, what other examples are, but I would tell you this is a perfect example of an opportunity for a PPP, private-public partnership. I think I think there's an opportunity here. If I was somebody running for the Board of Supervisors and somebody who's going to get on, I'd start looking at, well, what can we do to bring the private sector, the nonprofit sector, and the public sector together to help monetize this and do it much like we're doing on the Regional Housing Partnership and so forth and so on, to bring these different entities together. If I was in charge of this, which I'm not, of course, and thank God, that's the approach I would be taking is okay, let's bring these partnerships together and not just put it all on the government side. That would be my answer to that
This
question.
is how I would have the conversation, and I would turn to people like you who are well connected. I would envision something like this with the private-public partnership. Albemarle County talks with Core and Capshaw on red light management and say, will you help us create a tasteful version of the pavilion you did on the downtown mall and one portion of this park? And you guys can book the guests, and you guys create the venue, and you could use your massive database of musicians and turn this into a new business model for you, and we'll just take a percentage of that revenue, Albemarle County. Incremental revenue.
Sure.
Then I could turn to like the people that are the running and racing club, the nonprofit, like the Mark Lorenzonis.
That's
I would
exactly
say,
right.
Mark Lorenzoni, come up with a new 10K race that's once a quarter in this park. Ragged Mountain Running Shop, help us do that.
So that whiteboard would be filled up with potential ideas, right?
And then we would just connect the people that we know.
There's connect the people that we know and connect it. Well, and even the people we don't know. There may be national or regional players that might want to come in and go ahead and do that. And you know, is there a path for? I mean, you know, it's funny. Over the weekend, I'm looking to map out a 3-day bike trip with my daughter who's coming up from Seattle, and I'm trying to figure out where I can go and camp. Right? Well, here you go. Here's Biscuit Run. If there was a part of an interconnected large trail where I could make a stop there or something along this lines to go ahead and do that. But to me, a public-private partnership is really the only path forward on it. It's just my humble opinion for what it's worth. I think if it's left on the government to do it itself, it's probably not going to get there anytime soon.
Well said. How's the Fluvanna Park?
You know, it's I love it. It's great because there's nobody ever there. You know, we went for a 4-mile hike. There's 30 miles of hiking trails in there. I literally didn't see a soul. Yona and I went for I think it was a 5-mile hike on Sunday afternoon, and it just was nobody. It was just beautiful, right? It was just, I had 1,000 acres to myself, and it's just beautiful parks and horse trails and stuff like that. I think an interesting somebody to bring on the show on this Biscuit Run is somebody like Brian Rothamel. I'm trying to remember who's the Parks and Rec person for Fluvanna County, and ask them that. How did they do that? Because at the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's a 1,000-acre park. I remember when they bought it, they paid $1 million for it almost 20 years ago, which everybody's head spun. But they carved off a piece of it. That's where the new high school went. They carved off a piece of it. That's where the new library is. They carved off a piece of it. It's new where the county offices are going to be. The sheriff's office is there. Plus they have dog parks. The difference is running along the whole Rivanna River, and there's nothing but beautiful spots to stop and enjoy the river while you're hiking. But I have to tell you, my wife and I talk about it, blows our mind. There's like 30 people there, 40 people there. But we should bring those people in.
Are most public parks losing endeavors financially for the municipality?
Way above my pay grade, but that would be the question we would want to ask somebody like the Parks and Rec person from Fluvanna County or the economic development folks from. So tell us how that went. If I was an inspiring Albemarle County Board of Supervisor, that's who I would say, okay, tell me how it worked, tell me how you got there. There was VDOT money involved, and it was a long process, but it was 20 years to get to where it's at now, which is pretty awesome. They built a old farm implement barn, right? So like farming equipment from the 1800s. From Brooklyn, I don't know much about farming, but but that's what I would do if I was you. I'd reach out to them or reach out to other jurisdictions that have, hey, what did you do with this? But that's the closest real world example to Biscuit Run, right? Except it was never up for development. That was never an issue. The county wrote a $1 million check to buy it some 20 years ago.
Fluvanus.
Yep.
I mean, that looks like a steal from Fluvanus' standpoint now.
You think?
$1 million for all that land 20 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
That was a hell of a deal.
Oh yeah. It was a heck of it. Well, 20 years ago, $1 million was a big number. But they got a brand new high school location out of it, right? They ran water and sewer to it. It was.
You got a library.
They have a library that's out of this world.
Can you imagine the potential, Keith? And I'm just spitballing with you here. Can you imagine the potential if these parks, and we should really figure this out, and I will figure this out. If these parks, and I'm not just talking any park specifically, just parks in general. If these parks in general are huge, losing, causing tremendous money to be lost by the municipality because they're not being monetized whatsoever, the incredible potential for incremental tax revenue in the public-private partnerships. I mean, they have land often located in some of the best places of the area sitting around doing nothing.
So an interesting thing you should say that it's something as a Fluvanna County resident since 1987, and we paid to build this beautiful new high school. You probably don't know this, or maybe you do. The theater is theater quality theater that holds 1,000 seats. There's 1,000-seat theater in the middle of Fluvanna County that has zero. When was the last time you heard anything happening in there where somebody was sitting, 1,000 seats are big, and it's high tech and it's perfectly done, but they're not utilizing it. And I suspect there's reasons between the school board and the board of supervisors and liability and all these different things. But, I'm just looking into Fluvanna County. There was an opportunity that I never understood why you're not using that.
My friend, thank you for the knowledge today. What's the plan for tomorrow on Real Talk?
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a big show, Jerry. We're gonna we meaning the land trust. We're bringing in my vice chair and executive director, and we will be formally releasing the first 3 of the 15 affordable housing units for sale over at Spring. So I'm excited about that. That button will get pushed literally live on the show tomorrow to hit all the realtors in the MLS. So we're excited about it. We wish we could do better on the sales price, but we're working with a limited budget, but hopefully this will engage some excitement, and folks will help us participate and try to drive that number down.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Keith, you made me think today, per usual.
Well,
I'm just thinking the possibilities, and I'm learning from you. I mean, there are epic possibilities here. Yeah,
it's just you'll find out when you get elected. Sometimes it's a little frustrating to get everybody herded together to go in the same direction. It takes years to do it. As you know, I chair the Regional Housing Partnership, which we're in our 3rd year, which we're doing exciting stuff that's never been done before on affordable housing. But you and I are wired a little bit differently. What we're doing now, I would have done the first month, right? But it just takes a little bit of time to get there. But you're going to do some good magic. You just got to be a little patient with it, and it just takes time to bring folks with you along on it. But a PPP is the way to do it, in my opinion.
No doubt.
Unless Albemarle County can, write obscene amount of checks.
They can't do that.
They can't.
Yeah. Keith, good stuff today. I can't wait to see you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow, my friend. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Keith Smith, guys. Yes, Team Realtors. Yes, Realty Partners. Love Keith Smith. I mean, let me just dot the I's and cross the T's on this topic, okay? We got 1,200 acres basically on the city of Charlottesville line and the Albemarle County line. We got 1,200 acres that have been doing jack diddly for the county for, what, 12, 13 years? Why wouldn't we just form a JV, a joint venture, some kind of strategic partnership with Red Light Management and Corin Capshaw and say, Corin and Red Light, you get these 5 or 7 acres, whatever the number is. You guys build a sweet little music venue, outdoor pavilion. Maybe this sweet little music venue, outdoor pavilion, a couple thousand people. You run the music venue, you keep the artists coming, you're the most powerful people in music, you'd have no problem getting quality name recognition, headlining this music venue in Biscuit Run Park. And you could almost call it the Biscuit Run Amphitheater at Biscuit Run Park. It's like Red Rocks, where Tim Reynolds and Dave Matthews have played for so long. It'd be outside, you can have the Blue Ridge Mountains in the background, you can have these big trees around it, it can be carved out, you can have a bank with a music venue, a big lawn area like the Virginia Beach Amphitheater where people can sit. Then Corin and Red Light can form the partnerships with Star Hill or Devil's Backbone and Bull Rock, and you can have the food trucks and the drinking stations like you see at Fridays After 5. And then Albemarle County just says, can structure it 2 ways. They could say, we'll get a monthly nut every month that we can guarantee and plan on, X amount of dollars every month that we can guarantee or plan on, or you do it as a revenue share based on how many tickets are sold and how much booze is sold and how much food is sold. For me, the safe way is to just do a monthly number that you can plan on. Red Light, Corin, this music entity will spend or pay X amount of dollars a month. I don't even want to quote a number out there because I'd have to look at the revenue projections before you can come up with a monthly number. Then you can say, Mark Lorenzoni, Ragged Mountain Running Shop, I want you to take these hiking trails and you create a race every 90 days. And this race every 90 days will charge you X amount of dollars, you can keep the rest. We're all looking for places to run around here, right? And do races. You then can create a mountain biking tournament, regional mountain biking tournament that attracts people from outside the area. How about you take some of that land and you build 8 to 10 turf soccer fields with some lights over them. And then you can attract a regional soccer tournament. You take some of the land and you build pickleball and tennis courts. And you can get a tennis and pickleball regional tournaments going on. During the week, you can have somebody in a hut at the main access point charging a fee to get into the park like they do at Walnut Creek. A certain fee for Albemarle County residents and a fee for folks that don't live in Albemarle. And just like that, you've created incremental tax revenue for 1,200 acres that are generating $0 in tax revenue and probably costing you money to maintain. Good Lord, why isn't this happening? Put on the on our Excel file a new category on that file we created last week, J-Dubs, for Biscuit Run Park. And then we'll start creating the hit list of stakeholders in that funnel, just like we have with the other funnels. I mean, I'm just going to go about this campaign from the eye of somebody that's a small and medium-sized business owner that's got a proven track record of getting stuff done and a large contact list of people in every space, and to figure out a way how we can join forces and have everyone work together for the betterment of Albemarle. I mean, it seems like no-brainer, good Lord. Oh. All right, that's the show. My name is Jerry Miller. It's the I Love CVille Show. We're back tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. with Real Talk with Keith Smith. That show is just fantastic, Real Talk. And then 12:30 on the I Love CVille Show. A lot's happening in Albemarle. You know that the guy who's taken over for Liz Palmer in the Samuel Miller district is running unopposed? Do you realize that the guy, Juan Diego Wade, who's the front runner for Charlottesville City Council Democratic primary, has $55,000 plus in fundraising, almost $56K. Pinkston is just over $40K. And third place has $0? I mean, if fundraising is an indicator, Wade and Pinkston are going to clear-cut steamroll the Democratic primary, and then we're going to have a race with Wade and Pinkston, Yaz Washington, and Nakia Walker. If you're Nakia Walker and you got a proven track record of reading the tea leaves, and I'll tell you what, Nakia Walker, she knows how to win, right? She knows how to win. She's going to assess who's going to come out of the Democratic primary. And if it's Juan Diego Wade and Brian Pinkston, as opposed to Juan Diego Wade and Carl Brown, she is undoubtedly much more likely to run if it's Juan Diego Wade and Brian Pinkston than if it was Juan Diego Wade and Carl Brown. If it's Juan Diego Wade and Carl Brown, she's less likely to want to run. Pinkston and Wade, she jumps into that pool and goes toe-to-toe and says, I just have to come in second. The disparity in fundraising dollars in the city council candidate race is shocking. Talk about it more as the week progresses. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you for joining us on a Monday. Take care.